Hello, everyone. Zara Altair. Welcome to the Midweek Zap. And today's guest is Stephan Hovnanian. And oh my gosh, he is a pro at giving you tips about working Google Plus to your best advantage for your marketing. So, Stefan, without further ado, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, and thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's always great to have a new audience, right? You and I are have just been recently introduced, so it's nice to be able to speak to a new group of people, and I appreciate that. So yeah, a little bit about me. I am a web design. I guess I have a web design company by trade. For the last 14 years, we build, manage, and market kind of a full service thing for small businesses. And that led me to get onto Google Plus to evaluate it and understand whether or not it made sense to recommend to our clients, in addition to recommending Facebook for certain reasons and Twitter for certain reasons, whatever, and email marketing, obviously, because that's a big part of what we do. So kind of took to the platform. I realized that, neat thing about being in my industry, like you get a lot of stuff in your head, right? You have a lot of experiences and you read a lot of great information because that's our job, right? To stay on top of things, to stay on top of trends and research reports and things that we can recommend to our clients. Well, again, I've been able to formulate a lot of my own opinions, but haven't had a platform to be able to share them, right? And the only people that could enjoy it were, the handful of clients that we had. So Google Plus again offered me that platform, just the features, the ability, the openness to be able to connect with people, and it kind of took on a life of its own. But I took really well to this platform, and I think one of the interesting things about it is it gives you the ability to really be human and not have to try and play a game or anything like that. It's really about putting yourself out there. If you know a lot about your area of your fields of interest, you have some great opportunities here to do that thought leadership thing and build some influence. And obviously all that turns into business opportunities down the road. And speaking of which, what ended up happening with the Google Plus part of it is I started to again really gravitate well and took to right, like I've written some ebooks on utilizing Google Plus, different areas of it, circle management, posting and sharing. So I kind of took the mechanical and turned it into, instead of a how-to, certain things like strategies and techniques, things that you might want to try and implement yourself, and that could give you a little more bang for your buck. So I leave the how-to stuff to other people. My how-tos are more like the how and why to, or why you would want to have a how-to. There you go. Um,
Why you would want to have a how to. I think it
Something
boils
like that, right?
down to,
A little deeper.
your strategy. And we have in conversations talked about what it takes to have your strategy on Google Plus, and really boiled it down to the mindset. Because if you're on Google Plus for business, and you want to be a pro, and that means you're making money. You're not an amateur. Amateur, you do it for fun. Pros are looking to look for some financial gain, and that's why I posted my crazy picture today with the dollar signs. And apologies to those of you in different currencies. That's what I had. No pounds, no euros. Um, but that is our end goal when we are in business, is bringing the dollars in and having some cash flow. And so one of the reasons I was really excited to have you here on the show today is your mindset, especially reading your books, your mindset about how to use Google Plus to enhance your presence, and therefore enhance the dollars that are coming back to you. And so you want to elaborate on that, the mindset, and I know we've talked about it in our personal conversations, but you want to share that with our audience, and then maybe we can spark some questions here, audience. We're looking for questions that Stephen can help you personally.
Yeah, sure. So So I guess in terms of strategy or why you want to do this, I mean, really the key is to just understand what Google Plus gives to you. What does it bring to the table? Maybe that other platforms don't. But you should think about this for every platform. But like, what's the feature set, and how does the audience that's on Google Plus or on Google Plus through other ways, and that's unique to this platform. I'll talk about that in a second. But how would your audience, the type of people that are on that platform, how are they going to respond to you talking about what you know? And so, they may or may not. It might just be a place where, like, everybody always brings up Facebook, and I hate to have to do it, but the Facebook's a little bit more of a personal platform. It's the type of platform where it has a lot of great features for businesses or for business owners who are trying to collaborate, right? I mean, the groups are fantastic. Everything's freaking fast, way faster than Google Plus, and I hope that changes. But I mean, it's real time. Let's face it. So there's some good collaborative tools there and things like that. But from the audience, the people that log on to Facebook every day that are going to possibly see your message, they might be on Facebook for different reasons, not in order to see your message, right? So you have to think about what that means and how you're going to be able to utilize that with your message. And your message could be anything, or it could just be, hey, we're going to have a Facebook page, and it's going to be there for support in case somebody is really, is really into Facebook and they want to reach out to us for some reason. For support or a pre-sales question or whatever. So we're there, right? They can like our page on Facebook if they're interested in us, or if they search whatever, and then they can ask us a question and we'll help support them. I mean, that's a perfectly acceptable use case for having a Facebook page, and the same will go for Twitter. Because the thing is, like, even if you're not able to really support and engage these things on a regular basis and build them out, then it's just going to look kind of dead. So you're almost better saying, hey guys, this is what this page is for, and it's not for anything else. So let's set our expectations. And so I guess before I continue, we have a question from Ray Miller.
We do, and every author loves this question.
Good.
And Ray, they are listed in the description, so you can always check back. Anyway. But let's have Stephan tell us now. Could you share the names of your ebooks?
Yep, and you could just search my name, Stephan Hovnanian, on Amazon. Because I'm the only one, so that'll show up. But the series is called Google Plus Pro Tips, and so it's Google Plus Pro Tips. And there's like strategies for posting and sharing on Google Plus, managing your Google Plus circles. There's one on how to bring your audience to Google Plus, and then also how to get more visibility on Google Plus. And I have 3 more that are in the works right now that I'm hopefully going to be wrapped up by the end of the summer.
Boy, you're a busy
That'll be my whole series, like the whole series. The idea was to do about 7.
Yeah, great. And then Kevin Burns just has a question for you. Where's your buddy Ben Fisher? We want Ben here in the cheerleading stance.
Ben's on a call with a client, or we were chatting right beforehand, before we went live. Actually, he's on a. So yeah, part of my journey, by the way, has led me to an opportunity with a company called Steady Demand, which Ben is a partner in, and he, we do Google Plus business page, the brand page management with content marketing and things like that for businesses on Google Plus. That's what we do. And so I started working with those guys back in April, which was great because there's another way. By the way, that's another way to make money. You don't always have to be somebody who sells a product. Like, you could just be looking for an opportunity. And I wasn't really looking for a job. I have a very successful business. I was doing things okay by myself, but this let me do what I wanted to do anyway on a more scaled platform. I mean, in a more scaled fashion, which I love, because now I can go out, and if I'm talking to people the way I normally do, and there's an opportunity to say, hey, if you need somebody to do some content marketing or business page management, I've got people that can do this for me. Like, I'll go after multinational companies at this point. I don't care, because I've got the team that can support that. So so Ben's on a client call right now. Otherwise, I'm sure he would love to pop in and say hi.
Okay, and then we have a question from Justin Case, and I think it's right down to the meat of things. What's the #1 thing you feel is needed to make your business take off?
That is a great question, Justin. I think there's two parts to it, right? One is you really need to know what you're doing, um, because there's an inherent fear anyway. And the example I just gave is a perfect example of that. I'm I'm hesitant to go out and pitch, page management, right? Because what if it works? What if I get a ton of people to say, yes, I would love you to manage my Google Plus page for me? I'm sort of screwed because there's only one me. There's only a certain number of hours of the day, and I'm not scalable. And so being able to hook up with a company like Steady Demand allowed me to do that, right? So knowing my stuff and having myself set up in a position to go out there and make something happen. That's, I think, a big part of it, right? You can't do that though until, well, yeah, no, that really is, it's a two-part thing. You have to know your product. You got to feel really confident behind it, but then you also have to be able to be in a position to fulfill all those orders once you hang your shingle out on the front door and say, hey, this is what I do. And so you have to be able to do that. And I think that's a big fear for many small business owners, is that they don't want to they don't want to put themselves out there yet, even though they might be very knowledgeable about their area of expertise, like very, very knowledgeable. They might have a phenomenal business, treat their customers right, have great products, great pricing, but they're scared of the scalability part. So to that, I would say, work that out. You have to work it out some way. You're either bringing people in, you're going to work on a contractor basis with some people, or you raise your prices, or you come up with some mechanism to handle, hopefully, the influx of activity when you hang your shingle out there and say, hey, this is what I do. Now, but before you get to that point where you sell, right, where you say, hey, this is what I do if anybody's interested, you have to build up that authority. And you can do that because chances are you know what you're talking about. So, but you have to be out there, giving. There's a lot of people talk about this on social media. There's a lot of giving, You have to be present, but I think that's the other part that comes with it. So, again, kind of have your house in order, and then you have to go outside and be present, because you can't just expect this to happen. Like, a lot of people join Google Plus because of the inherent SEO benefits. But here's the thing: if I share a link on Google Plus, yes, it's crawled, yes, it's indexed. But if nobody sees it, it didn't mean anything. It doesn't help my SEO. If I have 10 followers on my Google Plus page, or if I have 1,000 followers and nobody interacts with my stuff because I got my 1,000 followers by, paying somebody to sign up 1,000 people to, 1,000 fake profiles, or I did some of that, like, circle sharing things, which boost your numbers but don't really give you a lot of targeted quality people that are interested in you. They're all interested in themselves and boosting their own numbers. Well, then none of that helps you. So, you have to be present. You got to be here to make this work. And, going back to what I said before, G Plus gives us a platform that extends beyond the actual social network. You can run, once you hit 1,000 followers as a business, you can run Plus post ads. So you could actually advertise, like, legitimately outside of Google Plus, and outside, onto, like, forums and blogs and people that have AdSense set up, in a way where people on those websites are highly targeted. And if you can find a couple of websites that really share that targeted audience, it doesn't matter that these guys aren't on Google Plus. Now you can send them an ad, and that ad shows up on that website. People go to that website, whatever. And here's an opportunity for them to really engage it's a beautiful layout, right? The ad itself is beautiful. It shows that there might be some engagement already on your post, so it's not like you're some schmo that knows nothing. It's like, wow, this is a guy. He's got half dozen. He's got some activity on the post. There's some comments. I can read the comments. If I'm not logged into Google, maybe I can't make a comment, but that doesn't matter. I've got that social proof, and that's something that the platform gives us. But you don't get to that point unless you're here, and unless you've built up, you've put yourself out there in a way that you know what you're talking about. I hope that makes sense. This is kind of a long-winded answer, but hopefully it did the job.
Well, I think that I agree with you, and I think Justin would agree with you as well, is that the presence, and you want to create your presence. Just throwing stuff out there doesn't do anything. And Justin, I know, interacts with people and responds, and that is an essential part of being here on Google Plus, is that if you want people to notice you, you need to do something. It's as simple as that. You know, that just throwing posts out there isn't going to do anything. But if you are responding to people's posts and you're reading articles that people post and you're commenting on those posts, then you're getting engagement and you are getting the kind of traction and presence that Google really does notice. So the more that you do that, the more you are noticed by Google+. And then Kevin has another question, so I'm going to throw it up here. Stephan Hovnanian, to the extent you care to share or not, so you have an opt-out here, what % of your business stems from Google Plus versus other platforms and other marketing methods? I suspect Google Plus is in the majority.
So that's a great question, and something that we're always trying to prove as business owners and marketers, the ROI. What is the ROI? Here's a lot of time I'm spending on this platform. How much money have I made? You divide that, you compare that to the same equation on other platforms, and you see which one's doing the best job for you. The problem with social media, it's not really a problem, it's a challenge, is really quantifying where those leads and those sales are coming from. Because somebody might be following you on Facebook for months and then happens to do a search, or their friend happens to do a search, and because they're both logged into a Google account and they know each other and blah, 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 maybe there's an element of personalized search that kicks in that escalates your post to that person's newsfeed. And then they're going to say they came to you from search, right? If you even ask them. They're going to say, oh yeah, I found you on Google, the Google search. And then if you really try and dig into it, you might realize that, well, this person kind of found you on Facebook, or their friend from Facebook told you about them or told them about you. So that's actually word of mouth. And so it's a little difficult to track the specifics. I don't do it. And the other thing is, what are you selling? So I sell $2.99. I'd sell ebooks for $2.99. That's if you ask me what my actual product is, it's ebooks for $2.99. I could also sell a website for a few $1,000s. So am I looking at units, or am I looking at actual gross revenue? I mean, it's a hell of a lot of books to equate one website. So it's a little tricky, and I know I'm realizing I'm kind of going around in circles to circumvent the answer, but I want to illustrate how important it's hard to do. You got to look at social more as a branding campaign. But as far as referral traffic, I have the biggest network, personal network on Google Plus compared to my other where I am on other parts of social media and other marketing channels, including email lists. So I do get most of my traffic and activity and things like that from G+. I want to expand on that, actually. I want to see LinkedIn start kicking Google Plus's butt, because I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and I used to be there before I was here. So, and I want to grow my email list as well. But yeah, that's the answer there, sort of.
Okay. Thank you. And then Kim Armstrong has a question, and this relates to the post ads. Yikes, can you only do that with a business page? I haven't even gotten to 1,000 on a personal page. Should I just scrap that and start on a business page so that I could eventually take advantage of ads? That's kind of a double-barrel question.
Yeah, I know people who've done it with profiles, so I'm not sure. I mean, it's all up to your strategy. There's very good reasons to have both a business page and a personal. And the way I describe, personal is the people buy from people thing, right? That's, even if you're a personal brand, people buy from people. If you're only a personal brand and your company is your name, then you probably don't need a page. But if that isn't the case, like in my case, I'm a personal brand, but at the same time, my web company is, I'm one person with a few kind of contract workers that help me out. So my business page needs to exist. I mean, that's sort of an entity. The business page is linked up to your website. Your website is built around a certain area of expertise, right? In my case, it's website design and email marketing. So as long as my business page is talking about website design and email marketing on Google+, there's that like semantic relevance that you can get more on your business page than if you were to mix that stuff in with your post, just your, hey, I want to get to know you kind of posts, or your post about other things that are of interest to you that help build those personal relationships. That's a little harder to do on personal, even though it's easier to connect with people. I hope that makes sense. So there's a reason to have both. There's a little sort of extra nugget as far as why you would even want to have one or the other or both. But yeah, as far as I know, to answer the question directly from Kim, I know people who have done it from their profile. So give it a shot.
And I wanted
it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to that, Kim, that just Google Plus takes time, and so if you're not at 1,000 followers yet on your personal page, just keep going with that. That would be my suggestion, that you keep going with that, and later on think about setting up your business page, because you can do the post ads from your personal page. Concentrate your energies, because if you spread yourself too thin, it's just time management. It's time management, and we all struggle with time management when we are personal business owners. And then, Stephan, oh wait, I want to tell everybody, here we are. We're at the Midweek Zap, and with our guest, Stephan Hovnanian. And Stephan has a training this afternoon, so we're going to be really close with our time today because he's got to leave. So thank you again for being here and taking your time right before you have a big training gig, because I know that takes a lot of energy. All right, we have a question from Justin again. What tools would be the best, in your opinion, to drive traffic?
Let's see. It's kind of a tricky question. I mean, whatever tools are going to work best for you. And the other thing is, what kind of traffic? Or do you just want page views? Do you want? But I would say, all right. So there's a few things that I use, at least, that might help. Just throw some stuff out there for you. And I'm assuming you're talking about traffic to your website. So build an email list, give people a ton of value as far as why they should join your email list. To the extent that maybe you are also, in addition to putting your own blog post or links to your own content out there, you're also sharing other things, from other people around the web that you find, because that builds you up as an authority and as a go-to person. But the other thing that you could do, in addition to your email list, create a Pinterest board. The curation tools. Some of these curation tools that are out there, they help. And like Triber is one, for example, that you can have this distribution channel now built in that people can go out and tweet your. They can build relationships with your blog, and they can tweet your blog, and it's all kind of it's built up together for that kind of stuff. And again, Pinterest boards are great for those types of things because it's bookmarking. But the only way that people are going to click through to these articles and this information that you've written is if they know who you are and they trust you. So before you can ask for anything in return, you kind of have to put yourself out there. And you want to, I think, just be genuine. I would say one tip I can give for posting a link on Google Plus is to not post the type of link where you say, "Hey guys, this is my latest blog post. Please go click through," because people don't want to. I mean, the culture here is that I want you to give me the takeaway, and maybe half the takeaway, and then if I feel like I've gotten enough out of the Google Plus post, or if you've asked me a question or whatever, I feel like I can interact directly there. Don't take me off app. And I think the same goes for places like LinkedIn and Facebook, and not so much Twitter, but LinkedIn and Facebook. Don't take me off app. Try and give me everything that you can here in the app, and then from there, if I want to click through, if you've kind of hooked me, I'll go click through and read the rest. So that kind of stuff helps, especially here on Google Plus. So.
Great. And things are starting to jam up here at the end. And I'm just going to read what Jessica had to say, because she's to answer about. I really think a great, maybe the greatest tool is creating personal relationships. It takes longer sometimes, but it isn't as spammy, but it gets your passion out there. And I just have to agree, and I think Stephan would agree as
Oh,
well.
100%.
Yeah,
100% agree. It's the only way, again, go back to before we had the internet. People bought from people, and that's it. You walked into a place, in the old West, and you say, where do I buy a pair of boots? And these people they'd all point to the same guy, because that's the guy that made the best boots and took care of his customers and knew everything there was to know about boots. You want to be that guy, right? You want to be the person everybody points their finger to, and it's really important to build up that reputation. Now, chances are, again, in your business, you can do this already, and so the whole thing is just put yourself out there on the professional side, here on Google Plus or on LinkedIn or anywhere else on social media. Just be that person, but and it'll come back to you eventually. It will.
okay, and then we have Tammy. I found that having both personal and business pages helped me, but the biggest thing I think has helped me is belonging to the communities, groups, etc. How do you think group communities play into our ranking and other findings?
So I don't know that they play specifically or directly into ranking, but look at it this way. You're right, you can build phenomenal relationships with people in communities and groups. Now, those one-to-one relationships now are going to expand outside of that group, hopefully, into, outside the group into the public part of that network, and then maybe over to the blog or maybe over to the email list or something like that, to the point where you guys are lifting each other up. The more that happens, the more visible you become, both, in and out of search. But you know what? At the end of the day, it shouldn't be your end goal. The end goal should be to, lift other people up, to have that great relationship that you've built one-on-one, which is what you just described. So if you can do that, it's going to, again, it'll come back to you, and mechanically that's how it comes back to you. Everybody, you become more and more and more and tighter connected. I saw, by the way, a quick follow-up from Justin's question. He was asking about tags or short URLs and things like that. So I'll touch on that super quick. I mean, the tricky part, I think personally, with short URLs, I think the people don't trust them as much as they trust the actual web page. So it's something for you to have to test. I would encourage you to use campaign tags if you can. But again, those are tricky, because like I could click through from Google Plus to a link and have that all tagged from Google Plus, and then go share it on Twitter, and that's going to have the Google Plus tags in there. So it's going to get all screwed up. So it's something to test and try out. Try to see what works best for yourself.
Okay, and then I think we have time for about one more question, because I think the answer is going to be long before you have to go. I really appreciate your being here today, Stephan. And Tim, hey, you made it. Thanks very much. So Tim Sweeney, Stephan Hovnanian. So in the case of a Google Plus page management, the business structure you're using is to acquire the client and then hand the page management off to a partner or third party? Question mark. I'm trying to understand the structure here. As you would imagine, there are many entities that would benefit from being on Google Plus or are on it and are using it in a very dysfunctional manner. The problem is, as you stated, there are only so many hours in a day to service clients.
Yes, it is. All right, so I can't give you my secret sauce. I'll just come out and say that right now. But I will say, a lot of times I try and my personal sales style is one where I try to identify where the problem is for a client or potential client, and I try and illustrate the feature set that would benefit them the most on Google Plus. And then, I go so far as to maybe run through a couple of scenarios. Again, the nice thing is with G Plus is that it's so interconnected with search, and there's such a robust feature set of content marketing tools. So we have great things we can do with photos. We have great things that we can do with events and Hangouts and YouTube videos, which, by the way, is the second largest search engine in the world behind the one that owns it. So, and in the U.S., the market share of Google and YouTube is like, don't anybody even bother. So, when I can illustrate some of those things, there's such a shock that like it's like a shock and awe kind of thing. Like people really, wow, I didn't realize how powerful it was. To me, it was this extra thing that only tech people were on. Well, no, that's not the point, you know. And so I try and focus on that and try and get people to understand that how easy it is to tell your story using the tools on Google Plus, and who better to help manage that process than people who do it for a living. I mean, that's kind of. But even if not, you know, even if they say, well, all right, that's great. At least now I know why I can get on Google Plus. Go for it. You know, here's some tutorials that people have written. I got some $2.99 ebooks that you could buy instead of hiring somebody for thousands of dollars. And try and give it a shot. And if you can pull it off, great. Rather you do it yourself. It's more authentic. But if not, I know people that can help. Or if you want to jumpstart, I know people that can help. And so, yeah, can I give a cheap plug, because it's free? It's a free tool.
Sure.
When it comes to your business page, right? The Steady Demand has a brand page audit tool, which is phenomenal. It's one of the best tools in the world, and it's free. You just post it up on steadydemand.com. I forget the name of the page. It's like /brand page audit tool or something like that. So up on steadydemand.com, there's a link to check your page. You type the URL or you paste the URL in there, and what it's going to do is check all the connections from your business page to Google Plus. And the benefit to that is if all of those connections are proper, they're made, and if they aren't, there's anything missing, it gives you the links to the Google Help Docs so that you can, you know, send it over to your webmaster. But if all those things are all set up and you have that nice tight connection between your business page and your website, then all the activity that you have on Google, that you're making on Google Plus is going to like give you the best bang for your buck. So if you're missing a few things, it's like a weak connection, you know, like a weak spark, and only a few sparks are going through, so you won't get as big of a bang for your buck on your website. But if you have a nice strong connection and all those things check through, then you know, it's a nice like closed circuit and goes right through. So it's a little cheap plug. I could throw the link to the event to the brand page audit tool in the event comments. Again, it's free, so try it out.
I am very conscious of your time, and I know you have to get off to your training. So I want to thank you very, very much for being here, Stephan. It was great, and we just had a comment from Ray Miller, who said, "This is a great show, Zara Altair and Stephan Hovnanian. This could have lasted 2 hours, and we would still be learning useful information." And I think that's true. You just have so much to share with us, and I really appreciate the time that you've given us today. I am going to let everybody know that Stephan will be back later to catch any later questions or comments. He's got to go off to his training right now. I want to thank you all for being here, and if any more questions come up, please be sure to post them in the comment stream. Next week, back by popular demand, we have Mark Pearson. He is going to be talking about backups for your pages. So join us next week. And thanks again, Stephan. We're going to be signing off. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, all you great Zapster audience. Bye.